In this video, we're going to cover the tools that you can use while you're on your mobile phone to create really great content, even if you're short on time and only have your phone handy. So we're going to go pretty quick and we're going to cover quite a few tools, so be prepared to take notes. The first thing that I want to talk about is images. We briefly talked about using images as a type of matter in Module 2, but I want to delve a little deeper into creating images with your phone in this video. So if you've got the iPhone 4, you've got a 5 megapixel camera ready to capture really great photos for you. Android users with newer phones will generally have about 5 megapixels too. And even my little LG NV3, which was not a touchscreen, it's the one that you're seeing right here. I bought it 2 years ago. That still had a 3 megapixel camera. So sure, none of these are a 16 megapixel new Nikon digital SLR or something like that. But I think that you've realized by this time in the Always Be Shipping course that we're not aiming for perfection here. What's it take to become a market leader? It takes shipping quality, thoughtful content consistently. So you're going to ship with the tools that you have available to you. So you're going to use whatever mobile camera you've got available. So let's start with composition, because no matter what kind of a camera you're using or what kind of a camera phone you've got, composition can improve anybody's photography. So I'm not going to pretend to be an expert or even a hobbyist for that matter. I am a person who takes pictures sometimes of things that I think are funny or cool, and that's it. And most of the time those pictures aren't that good. But here's a couple of tips that I learned that helped me take better pictures. And, I don't remember these tips all the time either. I don't. But when I do, my images turn out to be much more interesting. So I want to share those tips with you too, so that you can start to create images that are a little bit more compelling than maybe what you're used to. So here's 2 pictures that I took at the beach last summer. I was using the Hipstamatic app on my iPhone. So one of the first rules that I learned about composition was to stop centering everything. So the picture on the left, as you can see, is very much centered. Everything is happening pretty much right in the middle of the frame, whereas the picture on the right is very much not centered. And I think that the one on the right is a much better photo, don't you? Now the picture on the right also brings to mind another rule that I learned, which is to imagine a line running through your photograph through the primary action that's going on in the picture. So what you're trying to imagine is kind of like the line of sight and how your eye moves across the photo as it takes in the photo itself. So in photo 1, that line might run like this, up and down through the middle of the photo. And in the second photo, I kind of imagined as I was taking it that the line might go more like this, across the photo diagonally. So you want to avoid a line of action where your eyes go directly from left to right in the middle of the photo, or directly up and down vertically in the middle of the photo. And instead, you want to work with diagonals, you want to work with angles in the way that your eyes will move across the picture based on what's in it. Now another rule that's helped me a whole bunch is to change perspective. So on the right is a picture, this is from the same day at the beach. I was taking a picture of my son from the normal perspective that I see him in. I was standing there. I was an adult. I'm taller, and I had to point the camera down, or I am looking down, to take a picture of him. But then that picture on the right, for that one I got down on the ground, and so I and the camera then was more looking up at him. And that's not the normal perspective that you get when you take a picture of a child, or of any person really. You're not generally looking up like this. So it came out to be a better photo because of that. And because in the second one also, I'm not using centering. If you look at the first, that one's centered. The second one is not. So it's a better photo because of that as well. And the second one is also a better photo because of the next tip, which is to get in a little bit closer. Just a couple of feet closer in this case, and you can start to see the texture in his shorts and see his hair, his socks, and the seams in his shirts, and all these little details that you might not notice consciously at first glance, but they make the photo on the right more interesting in the end. Now, again, please don't think that I'm holding myself up as any kind of gold standard here. You can see my bad examples on the right, and I forget to follow the rules a lot too. Otherwise, I wouldn't have those bad examples. I'm sure that somebody who's really, really great at composition can look at my photos on the left and suggest improvements as well. But when I do remember to follow those simple rules, I do take better pictures. Not the best, not perfect, but I take better pictures. And that's what I want for you too. So you can use these simple composition tips, no matter what kind of camera you've got, to help you compose better pictures. So with Composition 101 kind of covered, let's talk about photo editing tools. iPhone users, I really love to use the Hipstamatic app, which is a paid app, and I also really like to use Instagram, which is a free app. And Android folks, I've heard really great things about Put-in Camera and Retro Camera to get those same sort of effects that you can get from Hipstamatic or Instagram. Of course, there's tons and tons of apps out there that will do photo effects, but if you're just getting started, you can have a look at those, and they should absolutely get you going and get you pointed in the right direction. So let's take a look at what these kinds of apps can do to make your photos more compelling. For this example, I used Instagram. So on the left is the original photo, and on the right is the Instagram picture. Instagram is going to allow you to crop and zoom your pictures, so I did that. I used the composition rules that we just talked about by zooming in to get closer, and I cropped more of the body of the chicken and then the sides to keep him out of being centered. And then I applied one of the built-in effects that Instagram has to the picture to make it look sort of retro and kind of cool and a little bit more pop to the image. So this whole process of the crop and the zooming and the applying the filter to change the look of the image takes about 10 seconds using the Instagram app or using any of these kinds of apps. And I've got a much cooler picture on the left than what I started with on the right. Or no, I've got a much cooler picture on the right than what I started with on the left. So you can use apps like Instagram and Hipstamatic to take what are pretty ordinary pictures, I mean this was of a chicken for goodness sake, and make them much more compelling. I actually really like the finished product on this one. So another tip is to take a few shots of whatever it is that you're trying to capture. Take 5 instead of just 1, and then that way you can pick the best one from the bunch in the end, and you're not just stuck with one that may or may not have turned out. Somebody could be blinking, that kind of thing. Now, finally, this one, I don't use this app terribly often, but it does come in handy when I want to crop a picture, but I don't want to do the whole Instagram thing. This is Adobe Photoshop Express, and it's available on the iPhone and the Android phones. It's free, and it'll crop photos for you. So if you want to take out a section of a picture or something like that, you can do that with this app. Now, we've already talked quite a bit about how to get your content from your mobile device onto the web, whether that's to your Facebook or your Twitter or even to your blog via Postgres. And all of those techniques that we have talked about work really great for the images that you'll be creating. So you can refer back to those videos if you need a refresher on how to take this content, these images that you've created, and get them onto your blog or Facebook or Twitter and so on. So now let's talk about audio. Most mobile phones come with some sort of voice memo recording feature, and here is the iPhone's version of that. So with that, you can record a quick message to your audience, and then you can email that message to your Postgres account, and then your Postgres account will automatically post that to your blog. So it's simple to do because it's a built-in app on most phones. And if you've got more than a few sentences to say, it's probably faster just to speak it than trying to type it out on your phone directly. So it's another one of those things that can remove an obstacle out of your way where you're, kind of like, well, I'd really like to say this to my audience, but I don't want to type it out on my phone, so I'll just do it when I'm home later, because that never actually works out. We always forget. And instead, by using a voice memo and then emailing to Postgres and so on, you can get that immediate action. Something actually is moving forward rather than I'll get to it later. Another way to deal with audio is with AudioBoo. They've got an Android app, they've got an iPhone app. You record your thoughts into the app, and then you can set up your AudioBoo account online to post to your Postgres, which then in turn can post to your blog. Now, AudioBoo can also post to Facebook and Twitter and Tumblr if you want it to as well, so you can use it for that also. Now, Android users, this right here is something that you are winning on over iPhone users. Android phones have built-in voice-to-text capabilities. Now, on the iPhone, you can use the free Drag and Dictate app to get voice-to-text functionality, which is what you see on the screen here. This is Drag and Dictate. Either way, if you've got voice-to-text capabilities, you can compose tweets or Facebook status updates or blog posts, even emails, just by speaking into your phone, and that avoids the whole pecking away at the tiny mobile keyboard. And you can take what you voice-to-texted, copy and paste it into the proper place where you want it to end up, and boom, you're done. Now, you can couple the voice-to-text capability with this app, and you've got a really winning combination. We talked about using Simple Note in the context of keeping a synced list of post ideas on hand for you to add on whenever you're struck with a new idea. So when you're out and about and you've got a really great blog post idea, add it to your Simple Note list. Now, we're going to talk about it in a different context here, just so that we know, though, Android users can use, there's a few apps that integrate with Simple Note for Android, but one of those is FlickNote, and that will sync with Simple Note on the web. So anybody can access Simple Note also through their mobile browser, of course, as well. So in addition to keeping that list of blog post ideas or your shopping lists, as you can see here, Simple Note can also be used for composing blog posts. So one of the things that you could do with it is to create a list of blog post ideas and then create a separate Simple Note document when you're actually ready to write one of those posts. And you would open that when you're out and about and you're able to make some edits, or you could add a thought or two, or just add some notes as to where you want to go with the piece so that you don't forget those insights that you might have at some point. You can use voice to text natively if you've got an Android and just have it type directly into Simple Note for you, or you can copy and paste from the Drag and Dictate app if you're on an iPhone to write out a full blog post. Just dictate a little bit at a time and compose your entire piece that way. Of course, you can also just type into the Simple Note app as well. And me, I'm more of a written word person, as we learned from my learning styles quiz in Module 4. And that's really what I do most often. So then you can copy and paste what you've written into Simple Note into an email and send it to Postgres and then get it onto your blog that way. You can compose a Facebook or a Twitter update in your Simple Note. Sometimes it's easier to do that than using the little write dialog boxes that you'll get like on Facebook. So I'll do that sometimes as well, and it's one of the great ways that you can use Simple Note. So with all of these ideas and shortcuts and apps, you'll be able to create content while you're on the go. And for me, a lot of times that just means lounging upstairs away from my desk and away from the office. I'm really not much of a big old jet setter, and you don't have to be either to take advantage of all of these mobile content creation tips. What we're trying to do here is free you from your desk and give you options for continuing your market leadership process wherever you are, so that you could always be shipping. So you've got some really great tools in this video to help you do that. So step away from the computer for a little bit and give them all a try and see how they work for you.